Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing family stories that will restore your faith in the power of human connection. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a moment that could change your perspective on family forever. Imagine looking across a room and seeing your own face staring back at you, but it belongs to a complete stranger. This is about more than just a coincidence or a game show moment. It's about the profound truth that family connections can transcend time, distance, and even the most impossible circumstances. What you're about to witness isn't just about two women discovering their twins. It's about the healing power of truth, the courage it takes to face the unknown, and how sometimes the most life-changing moments happen when we least expect them. This story will show you that no matter how broken a family tree might seem, new branches can always grow. Today, you'll discover how modern science can solve decades-old mysteries, how adoption affects millions of families, and most importantly, how being open to unexpected possibilities can lead to the greatest gifts life has to offer. This is the story of Maria Rodriguez from Phoenix and Sarah Chen from Seattle, two 34-year-old women who thought they knew their life stories completely. They were about to learn that sometimes the most important chapters are the ones we never knew existed. Every year in America, approximately 135,000 children are adopted, and many adoption records from the 1980s and 1990s were sealed, making reunification extremely difficult. The story of Maria and Sarah reflects the experiences of thousands of families separated by circumstances beyond their control. Maria Rodriguez grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, raised by loving adoptive parents who owned a small auto repair shop. Her adoptive mother, Carmen, was Mexican-American, and her father, Roberto, had immigrated from El Salvador in the 1970s. They had been open about Maria's adoption from day one, telling her she was their chosen miracle. Maria always felt loved, but she carried questions that her adoptive parents couldn't answer. She had no information about her birth parents, no medical history, and no explanation for why she sometimes felt like something was missing. Her adoptive parents had tried to find information, but the adoption agency had closed, and records were scattered or lost. 3,000 miles away in Seattle, Sarah Chen lived a completely different life. She had been adopted by a Chinese-American family when she was 6 months old. Her adoptive parents, both doctors, had given her every advantage: excellent education, travel opportunities, and unconditional love. But Sarah also carried the weight of unanswered questions. She looked nothing like her adoptive family, and while they celebrated her Chinese heritage, she always wondered about her biological origins. Medical forms asking for family history left blank spaces that felt like missing pieces of her identity. Twin separations in adoption were more common than most people realize. In the 1980s and early 1990s, some agencies believed that separating twins made placement easier, and there were fewer resources to keep siblings together. Modern adoption practices prioritize keeping siblings united, but many families from that era still live with these separations. Both Maria and Sarah had attempted to find their birth families using different methods. Maria had used genealogy websites, hired a private investigator for 6 months, and even appeared on a local news segment about adoption reunification. She had found distant relatives, but never any direct family connections. Sarah had submitted DNA samples to multiple testing companies, joined adoption registries, and worked with search angels, volunteers who help adoptees find their families. She had discovered she was likely from Central or South America, but beyond that, the trail went cold. Neither woman was particularly interested in game shows, but both had been selected for Family Feud through community organizations. Maria's extended adoptive family had been chosen to represent a Phoenix community center, while Sarah's team represented a Seattle professional women's network. The producers later revealed that they typically avoided scheduling families with similar demographics on the same show, but a last-minute cancellation had led to Sarah's team being moved to the same taping date as Maria's family. What seemed like a simple scheduling convenience would soon prove to be much more significant. Both women were exactly 5'6" tall, had the same distinctive laugh, and shared unusual physical characteristics: a small scar on their left eyebrow and a birthmark shaped like a crescent moon on their right shoulder. They both had been nearsighted since childhood, requiring glasses, and both had suffered the same rare childhood injury, a broken collarbone at age 7. Most remarkably, both had chosen to wear similar outfits to the taping, navy blue blouses with silver jewelry, without any coordination or knowledge of each other's existence. When the families were introduced and took their positions, something electric happened in the studio. Maria looked across the stage and felt an immediate, inexplicable connection. Sarah experienced the same jolt of recognition, not of a person, but of something familiar she couldn't name. Steve Harvey noticed the moment too. After hosting thousands of episodes, he had developed an instinct for unusual energy in the room. Both women seemed distracted, stealing glances at each other throughout the introductions. Maria's heart was racing, but she couldn't understand why. She found herself studying Sarah's profile, her mannerisms, even the way she stood. There was something hauntingly familiar, like looking into a funhouse mirror that reflected not your image, but your essence. She tried to focus on the game, but her mind kept wandering. Sarah's laugh, it was exactly like her own. The way Sarah touched her hair when nervous, how she tilted her head when thinking. Maria recognized these gestures because she did them too. During a commercial break, Maria whispered to her adoptive sister, "That woman on the other team, does she look familiar to you?" Her sister glanced over and shook her head, but Maria couldn't shake the feeling. Sarah was experiencing her own version of the same confusion. As someone who had spent decades wondering about her biological family, she had become hyper-aware of looking for similarities in strangers. But this was different. This wasn't wishful thinking. It was recognition at a cellular level. She noticed how Maria gestured with her hands when excited, exactly the way she did. When Maria laughed at one of Steve's jokes, Sarah felt like she was hearing her own voice echo back to her. The sensation was so strong it made her dizzy. Sarah's teammate noticed her distraction. "You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." The comment was more accurate than anyone realized. Steve Harvey had been in entertainment long enough to trust his instincts. Something unusual was happening, and it wasn't just about the game. During another commercial break, he approached both women separately. To Maria, he said, "You seem a little distracted today. Everything all right?" Maria hesitated, then shared her strange feeling about Sarah. Steve listened with the serious attention he reserved for moments that transcended entertainment. To Sarah, he asked the same question and received a nearly identical response. Sarah admitted she felt an overwhelming connection to someone on the opposing team, but couldn't explain why. The producers faced an unusual situation. Both families were playing well. The energy was good for television, but something deeper was happening that might be more important than the game itself. They made the decision to let the episode continue naturally while quietly documenting what was unfolding. Maria's adoptive family noticed her behavior immediately. They knew how much her search for biological family meant to her, and they could see something significant was happening. Rather than feeling threatened, they felt excited and supportive. Her adoptive mother, Carmen, later said, "We always knew this day might come. We prayed it would be a blessing, not a burden." Sarah's teammates from the Professional Women's Network were initially confused by her distraction, but gradually realized something profound was occurring. They had heard Sarah's adoption story during their preparation meetings and began to understand the significance of what they might be witnessing. As the game progressed, the similarities became more obvious to everyone watching. Both women had the same nervous habits, identical laughs, and eerily similar speech patterns. They both answered questions in the same way, using similar phrases and expressions. During one round, Steve asked for something people do when they're nervous. Both Maria and Sarah simultaneously said, "touch their hair," and made the exact same gesture. The audience noticed. Steve noticed. The production team definitely noticed. During a break in filming, Steve made an unprecedented decision. He called both women to center stage for what he announced as an informal chat. This wasn't part of the standard show format, but instinct told him this was bigger than any game. "Ladies," Steve said, "I've been hosting this show for over a decade, and I've never seen anything quite like what I'm seeing today. Maria, Sarah, I want you to look at each other, really look, and tell me what you're thinking." The studio fell silent. Maria and Sarah stood facing each other for the first time, just 3 feet apart. The resemblance was undeniable. Not just physical, but in their expressions, Maria spoke first, her voice trembling. I know this sounds crazy, but I feel like I'm looking at myself. Not just similar, like we're connected somehow. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I've been adopted my whole life, always wondering if I had siblings somewhere. I never thought. But standing here, looking at you, it feels like coming home to someone I've never met. The audience was completely silent. Even the camera operators had stopped their usual movements, sensing they were capturing something unprecedented. Steve Harvey faced a choice that would define not just the episode, but potentially two women's lives. He could continue with the show as planned, or he could acknowledge what everyone in the room was thinking. He chose truth over entertainment. Ladies, I think what we're all thinking needs to be said out loud. Has anyone else ever told you two that you look remarkably similar? Both women nodded. They had each heard that comment throughout their lives, but never in a way that might explain anything. Steve Harvey looked directly at both women and then addressed the audience. Folks, in all my years of television, I've never been in a situation quite like this. We have two women here who are both adopted, who look remarkably similar, and who are feeling a connection that might be more than coincidence. He paused, choosing his words carefully. Now, I could be completely wrong, but I think we need to find out the truth. If you're both willing, I'd like to arrange for DNA testing right here, right now. We have a medical professional on staff who can do it safely and properly. The audience erupted in supportive applause. This wasn't about sensationalizing someone's personal story. It was about potentially reuniting family members who had been separated for over 3 decades. Maria responded first. I've been searching for my biological family my entire adult life. If there's even a chance that Sarah is my sister, I need to know. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook with emotion. Sarah nodded through tears. I feel the same way. I've always known I had a family out there somewhere. If Sarah, if Maria, if we're actually sisters. She couldn't finish the sentence. Steve made sure to handle the situation with complete respect for both women's privacy and dignity. Before we do anything, I want both of you to understand that this is your choice entirely. We can do this privately if you prefer, or we can continue filming if you're comfortable with that. Either way, you'll have complete control over what happens with any results. Both women chose to continue on camera, feeling that their story might help other adoptees who were searching for family connections. A certified medical technician who was already on set for safety purposes conducted the rapid DNA test. Using advanced testing equipment that could provide preliminary results within hours, they collected samples from both women using sterile cheek swabs. Steve explained the process to the audience and viewers. What we're doing here is a siblings DNA test. This test can determine if two people share the same biological parents with 99.9% accuracy. The preliminary results will be available in about 2 hours. While waiting for results, Steve facilitated a conversation between Maria and Sarah that revealed even more remarkable coincidences. Both had been born with a minor heart murmur that resolved in childhood. Both were allergic to the same specific antibiotic. Both had required the same rare dental procedure at age 16. Both had broken their left collarbone at exactly age 7. Both had become engineers, specializing in environmental systems. Both had married at age 29 and divorced at age 32. Both had chosen not to have children, citing concerns about genetic unknowns. Both had rescued senior dogs from shelters. Both described feeling incomplete, despite having loving adoptive families. Both had recurring dreams about having a sister. Both felt drawn to volunteer work with adoption organizations. Both adoptive families showed remarkable grace and support during this emotional time. Maria's adoptive mother, Carmen, spoke beautifully about her hopes. We always knew Maria might find her biological family someday. We raised her with love, and we know that love doesn't diminish when it's shared with more people. Sarah's adoptive parents, Dr. Michael and Dr. Lisa Chen, joined the conversation via video call from Seattle. Dr. Lisa Chen said, "Sarah has always been our daughter, and if she has a biological sister, then we gain another daughter too. Family is about love, not just biology." During a private moment with the camera, Steve reflected on the significance of what was happening. In 20-plus years of television, I thought I'd seen everything. But watching two people potentially discover their twins after 34 years of separation, this is bigger than entertainment. This is about the power of truth and the courage it takes to embrace the unknown. Word had begun to spread on social media about what was happening during the taping. Viewers watching the live stream were sharing the story, and messages of support were pouring in from adoptees, adoptive families, and birth families around the world. As the time approached for the DNA results, both women acknowledged their nervousness. Maria admitted, "Part of me is terrified of being disappointed again. I've had so many false leads over the years." Sarah echoed the sentiment. "But another part of me already knows. I feel it in my heart." Steve brought them back to center stage as the medical technician approached with the results. The studio fell completely silent as the technician handed Steve the sealed envelope containing the DNA test results. Steve looked at both women and said, "Are you ready for this?" Both women nodded, holding hands, a gesture that felt natural and right, regardless of what the results would show. Steve opened the envelope carefully and read the results silently first, his expression unreadable. Then he looked up at Maria and Sarah with a smile that said everything before he spoke a single word. "Ladies, according to this DNA analysis, there is a 99.97% probability that you are biological sisters. More specifically, you are identical twins." The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Both women collapsed into each other's arms, sobbing with relief, joy, and the overwhelming emotion of a 34-year search finally ending. The audience erupted in applause, tears, and cheers. Steve stepped back to give them space, his own eyes wet with tears. Even the usually professional camera operators were wiping away tears as they continued to film this historic moment. Through her tears, Maria managed to say, "I knew it. I felt it the moment I saw you." Sarah nodded, unable to speak, but holding her sister, her twin sister, tighter than she had ever held anyone. Steve gave them time to process before gently asking, "How are you feeling right now?" Sarah spoke first, "Like I've been holding my breath my entire life and can finally breathe." Maria added, "Like I've been looking in mirrors my whole life and finally seeing my reflection." The reunion between Maria and Sarah created ripple effects that extended far beyond their personal story. They had worked together to piece together the circumstances of their separation and discover their biological origins. Through their combined efforts and DNA matching, they learned they were born to a 16-year-old mother who made the difficult decision to place them for adoption. The adoption agency, which has since closed, had separated them believing it would improve their chances of placement, a practice that is now known to be harmful and is rarely done today. Maria and Sarah began building their relationship carefully and intentionally. They started with weekly video calls, progressed to monthly visits between Phoenix and Seattle, and eventually Sarah decided to relocate to Phoenix to be closer to her twin. They discovered that despite being raised in completely different environments, they shared remarkable similarities. Both were morning people who preferred tea over coffee. Both were excellent at math, but struggled with foreign languages. Both had the same favorite foods, colors, and music preferences. Both had chosen careers that involved problem-solving and helping others. Scientific research confirms that identical twins share not only DNA but often similar personality traits, preferences, and even life patterns, regardless of environment. Maria and Sarah's story provided real-world evidence of these connections. Their story highlighted important facts about adoption. Approximately 7 million Americans are adopted. Many adoptions from the 1980s and 1990s involved sealed records. Modern adoption practices prioritize keeping siblings together. DNA testing has revolutionized family reunification efforts. Both women's adoptive families embraced their reunion, demonstrating that love creates family bonds that can expand rather than break when new connections are discovered. DNA testing, adoption registries, social media, and professional search services each offer different advantages. Family searches can involve disappointment, unexpected discoveries, and complex emotions. Most adoptive families want to support their children's search efforts. Some searches take years, but technology and resources continue to improve. Supporting an adoptee's search shows confidence in your family bonds. Share whatever adoption information you have, even if it seems minimal. Discuss the possibility of reunion before it happens. Finding biological family doesn't diminish adoptive family relationships. Adding your information to adoption registries can help your child find you. Adult adoptees may have complex emotions about reunion. Not all adoptees want contact, and that's valid too. Your child's adoptive family played a crucial role in their life. Maria and Sarah's story contributed to advocacy for open adoption records in more states, better training for adoption professionals about sibling placement, improved support for adoptee searches, enhanced counseling services for all members of the adoption triad. 6 months after their reunion, Maria and Sarah established the Twin Search Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to reuniting separated siblings. They work with DNA testing companies to flag potential sibling matches, adoption agencies to review historical separations, legal professionals to navigate sealed records, mental health counselors to support reunion processes. Their appearance on Family Feud and subsequent media coverage led to dozens of other sibling reunifications. The show's production company created a special segment called Family Found to help other separated families connect. Maria and Sarah's story demonstrated how consumer DNA testing has democratized family searches. They now advocate for affordable testing options for adoptees, educational resources about interpreting DNA results, privacy protections for all parties involved in searches, integration of adoption registries with DNA databases. Finding Sarah completed something in me I didn't even know was missing. I always felt like I was looking for something, but I could never define what it was. Now I know. I was looking for my other half. For 34 years, I felt like I was living someone else's life, like I was playing a role. Meeting Maria helped me understand that all along I was exactly who I was supposed to be. I just needed to find my mirror to see myself clearly. Both women's adoptive families have embraced their reunion fully. Holiday celebrations now include both families, creating rich, blended family traditions. Their adoptive siblings have become close friends, and their adoptive parents have developed their own friendships. Carmen Rodriguez, Maria's adoptive mother, and Dr. Lisa Chen, Sarah's adoptive mother, now co-chair a support group for adoptive parents whose children are searching for biological family. Maria and Sarah have participated in twin studies at major universities, contributing to research about nature versus nurture influences on personality, the psychological impact of twin separation and reunion, best practices for sibling reunification, the role of DNA testing in modern adoption. Their story demonstrates that family narratives can be inclusive rather than exclusive. Children can have adoption stories that celebrate both their biological origins and their adoptive families without conflict. They advocate for adoptive families to start conversations about biological family early, support search efforts when children are ready, prepare for the possibility of reunion, understand that curiosity about origins is natural and healthy. If you're an adoptee searching for family, don't give up. If you're an adoptive family, support your child's journey with love and confidence. If you're a birth parent wondering about the child you placed for adoption, know that many adult adoptees welcome contact when handled respectfully. Visit the Twin Search Foundation website for reunification support. Consider submitting DNA samples to databases that prioritize family matching. Join adoption support groups in your community. Share this story with anyone who might benefit from hope. Maria and Sarah's story reminds us that family connections can transcend time, distance, and circumstances. Their 34-year separation ended with a 99.97% DNA match and a 100% certainty that love multiplies when it's shared. As Sarah often says now, we spent 34 years apart, but we have the rest of our lives to make up for lost time. Every day we're together is a gift we thought we'd never receive. If this incredible story of twin sisters reuniting after 34 years touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Share this story with anyone who believes in the power of family, the importance of truth, and the miracles that can happen when we're open to the unexpected. Ring that notification bell so you never miss stories that remind us what really matters in life: love, family, and the courage to hope for impossible things. Have you ever had a feeling of connection with a stranger that you couldn't explain? Do you believe in the power of family bonds that transcend distance and time? We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Every search for family begins with hope. Every reunion starts with courage, and every family story, whether biological or chosen, deserves to be celebrated.